Horror, I would argue, is the most difficult genre for filmmakers to nail. Like comedy at the other end of the spectrum, what scares people is often as subjective as what makes them laugh. It's tied to their personal experiences and phobias in ways that make a horror movie for everyone a somewhat challenging notion. Comedy horror seems to be the studio answer, though this doesn't usually work for me. There are exceptions, but I think it results in tonal shifts that don't often land at the expense of atmosphere, mood, and a consistent tone. If I'm comfortable enough to laugh, I'm not scared, and if I'm truly scared, I'm not laughing. That might be an oversimplification, and what it is exactly I want from a horror film is something I struggle to explain to people. So, this Halloween, I'll take a look at two recent discoveries that can maybe do that for me. Billy Sinise's The Dead Center and Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Pulse. Any decent story has themes, but with these two films, themes upstage the mechanics of the horror from a storytelling perspective, much to the benefit of the overall experience. Surface level, The Dead Center is about a sort of viral zombie-esque contagion spreading on a psych ward, and Pulse is about ghosts who live in our computers. But boiling the films down to those simple explanations of their horror phenomena feels unsatisfying and much less scary. The Dead Center is actually about how depression can insidiously take hold of even the strongest minds, particularly people who've suffered great trauma. That anxiety and fear and internal desperation can mushroom out to other people, whether the original carrier intended it to or not.
It's getting stronger. All of them. I'm starting to disappear.
In the film, depression is this ancient, old-as-time Lovecraftian terror, something we're still learning how to field, how to talk about, and how to understand effectively. It's killed scores of people, and it still does, in the shadows. With this understanding, an understanding that the loose, vague nature of the contagion's mechanics allow, we can reflect on that which the imagery, setting, and language of the film clearly invoke. What could have been a decent minimalist zombie flick becomes a rumination on those who wage war with depression. Pulse is even more of an abstract succession of moods and feelings, this time surrounding the inception of the internet historically. It's earned a lot of recent praise and reevaluation for its downright prophetic examination of how the internet and social media actually isolate us far more than they connect us. Genuine connections slowly die off in the film. Young people become shadowy specters, shades of their former selves haunting their friends and family. We're constantly looking at the characters from behind doors, screens, bookshelves, and walls, even as they look into computers. This voyeurism, again, invokes a powerful thought about what our lives have become. Are we watching? Or are we being watched? The line slowly blurs. The characters always being caught between these diegetic frames like a computer screen imparts the idea of our lives slowly becoming an online digital slideshow, where we're always performing a shadow of who we really are. We box ourselves in with the creation of an online identity or a ghost, something especially problematic when really we just don't want to be alone. Pulse would seem to posit that in a post-internet world, we all are. Obviously, tapping into these very modern and very timely anxieties is both scary and cathartic, but there's another reason thematic, mood, and atmosphere-based horror really succeeds. It allows for the terror to remain somewhat unknown. Brevity is important in horror. How often have you found yourself less scared as a horror movie or game or novel wears on? Regardless of the medium, the more you're able to grasp and understand about the world of the piece and what's going on in it, the less you're afraid. Knowledge and experience are power, and if you have power over the horror, it isn't as effective. Both films bring the horror very close, not just in their themes, but in terms of where it plays out. With Pulse, it's our own personal computers on the fritz, in ways no technician can understand, showing us images we don't feel we should be seeing. It brings this imagery closer and closer as our social circles wither and we become increasingly isolated. Soon, it's making us watch our madness-stricken friends and family, and eventually, making us watch ourselves. The Dead Center involves something going on directly in your mind. Screams, voices, blips and flashes of gaunt, horrified faces whenever you close your eyes or try to rest. There's an entire sequence in the film where we're subjected to sleep hypnosis in the first person so we can experience a major character's infected hallucinations firsthand. It is terrifying, so much so that I almost wanted to look away. It's confronting you very directly with something you don't fully understand, with the mind, or your own head, as the battleground. I love genre, which should be pretty obvious by now, but even I think horror is least effective when we find it fenced into slasher, zombie, vampire, and paranormal playing fields. Using more thematic or conceptual horror as Pulse and the Dead Center do, drawing on timely phobias simmering in our collective unconscious, a film can age as a snapshot of a time and place, and the audience can be given a very unique opportunity, in a packed theater or in a dark room with headphones. The opportunity to face our fears. Happy Halloween, everyone, and thanks for checking out this video. My primary project for the month of November will be a video on John Woo's Golden Streak from 1986 to 1992. Stay tuned.